Welcome to the BTC show. So for this episode, I had Obi. Obi talked about how he's been able to make impact with his brand. So we had conversation over drinks. So this is not a question and answer series. So at the end of the day, for you that want to come to Nigeria and see how we make impact, Obi's session is one you should listen to. So what is Obi? Obi is a Nigerian name. So stop asking me what Obi is. But the goal is that we're able to have, we're looking at how his brand is able to create impact post-COVID and how he's been able to manage his team. So if you're looking to hear from a founder that is managing over 400 top talents, then this episode is the one you should listen to. So cheers. Welcome to the BTC. So welcome, Obi, to the BTC show.
Thank you very much.
So, interestingly, I'll let you tell us a bit about who Obi is and your journey. Good, yeah.
Okay, good. I am. My background is engineering, electrical engineering, with a focus on computer specialty.
Okay.
But I became an entrepreneur right out of school. Set up my first company, focused on building custom software, so tailor-made software for banks.
Okay.
Plugging gaps that banks had as they tried to become digital. So that was the first venture, and then I evolved from there to set up a second venture that now essentially created a product out of some of those tailor-made solutions. So productized it, but with an initial focus on the smaller banks, microfinance banks and other smaller banks who didn't even have any sort of technology infrastructure. So the whole idea was to provide an end-to-end technology set of technology systems that are managed centrally, so that these institutions don't need to acquire the infrastructure. So managed on the cloud, as they say, so that rather than buying the infrastructure and having to manage it, they just sort of subscribe to it and use it, and just pay as they use. And so this was like an evolution of my career as an entrepreneur. And then we grew that beyond the smaller institutions, even into some of the big institutions, providing similar sort of products on the cloud that help these bigger commercial institutions to deliver digital services. So, for example, things like helping banks to issue debit cards to customers instantly, rather than taking a week or two to do it. Helping banks who wanted to deploy things like internet banking or mobile banking, or like agent banking, when the trend, came where you could go do cash withdrawals or deposits at POS locations owned by banks or deployed by banks. So that was like a major evolution for me in my career, and we built that out to become one of the prominent homegrown platform providers in Nigeria for these category of digital financial solutions. And then most recently, I kind of made the third evolution, which was now focusing on payment.
Okay.
So looking at the payment infrastructure, the aspiration for the society to become cashless, and some of the limitations in terms of reliability or issues with the payment infrastructure that are kind of holding down that cashless dream. So we've evolved to create a payment network based on the new blockchain technology that is far superior to the existing sort of payment network you have today. Different architecture, so I can get to that later, but this new payment network is designed to allow different types of payment applications, whether deployed by banks or payment companies, to run and process payments between banks from one bank to the other. We got licensed as a payment switch in 2022 by the central bank.
Okay.
And ever since, we've kind of taken off on that. While the previous business still continues to grow, provide banking solutions. Right now, expanding out of Nigeria with a few clients in Ghana, Gambia, Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and so on. Yeah. So this is like a quick summary.
Okay.
Like,
So Obi, good thing is so when I asked the question and you said and you told me your numbers, I love the fact that we have Nigerian brands that are doing. So if someone says he's doing 400, what it means is that 400 families are tied to you. 400 families will wake up every day to earn a living because you decided to go your path. And for someone like that, what it means is that no matter the stories you hear about in Nigeria tomorrow, for business like yours that thrive, it's good news and it's lesson for the next generation. So how would you see what's your own big lessons and how are you thriving in a world that is post COVID? Because definitely after COVID several things changed.
Yeah.
So how did this affect your business? How would you say you've thrived and you're thriving? And what do you think is the biggest lesson the post COVID era has brought to your own business?
okay, good. So I think the one big thing like that.
Obi, I have drink. This drink is not just for me.
Sure. Thanks. So one big event for us during COVID was the way it kind of affected, investor interest. At that time, we were engaging with foreign investors to fund expansion of the company. And then when COVID hit, it kind of completely, so investors kind of took a completely bleak view on the continent, and a lot of investors pulled out. So that affected us, slowed
Okay.
down. In fact, it truncated engagement, which was a major. It was a setback
Okay.
at that time. It was a massive setback, but okay. Fortunately enough, we were able to substitute that engagement with another one, and we
Okay.
continued to eventually raise funding for expansion even during that COVID period. So, but many companies may not have survived that. We were fortunate. Many companies may not have survived that because the interest. If it's companies that require investment to continue to run,
Yeah.
then you might have seen companies that folded up. So that was one big impact. The way the COVID era kind of impacted interest in funding tech startups or tech companies in Africa. Obviously, the other one was how we had to adjust from an on-premise work structure to a
Yeah.
remote work structure.
Yeah.
Things we had to put in place. How do you coordinate? Things that would have been physical engagements. How
Yeah.
do you now coordinate them remotely?
And get results.
Yes, yeah. Things like some of the work we used to do at the time would require physical presence, engineers,
Okay.
physical presence at client locations.
Okay.
So engineers would go into a bank and need to work on the system, maybe install software or test something on the system.
Okay.
Making alternative arrangements with the clients who are banks to be able to do this remotely. And as you know, or you might know, there are security considerations around opening up systems for people to remotely access,
True.
and a lot of skepticism and processes around getting that done. So that was also critical. Even hiring, typically hiring, requires physical interviews and engagement.
Yeah.
Even the testing process. So, for example, if you want to test a candidate, they would come to somewhere and write a test so that you're
Yes.
sure that it's the person who you are hiring that's writing the test. You don't want a scenario where, you know, you need to be able to be sure, right?
Yeah.
So that was one big situation. How do you set up a recruitment process that can function remotely? There's something called proctoring, right? So where you can do like a remote test and have a camera
Okay.
watch to see that who is writing the test is who you're trying to hire, and then system to interview remotely as well.
You did all this here in Nigeria.
Yes, of course. We kind of had to. Of course, we've been based in Nigeria, in Lagos, all this while,
Yeah.
and we kind of had to put all these systems in place to enable this transition.
Okay.
You're right, but it has worked. So today, our hiring process is fully remote.
Okay.
Our a lot of our sort of engineering engagements with our clients are remote. So they provide a system to connect to wherever the environment they're supposed to be working on through the internet,
Yep.
but in a secure way. Work as well. Things like internal meetings and sessions are mostly remote as well.
Okay.
So this has been kind of like the way the environment has evolved internally in terms of the operations of the organization. So the issue of it being more productive and even from Nigeria, yes, particularly because if you think about simple stuff like traffic, especially in Lagos,
Yeah.
what you have is that because of the cost of living, a lot of people don't live in the very sort of commercial centers.
Okay.
You have people living at the outskirts because
Yeah.
it's more affordable.
Okay.
And if you have a company in one of the main commercial centers like VI, you know, um, wherever like that, what you find is for many people on the average, commuting to work and back combined will take 4 hours or more. Could be as much as 5 hours, 6 hours. And during that time, the productivity is zero. But not just is productivity zero during commute, but the impact of that commute is energy sapping as well.
Okay.
That's on the one hand. The other big one is meetings.
So how do you handle meetings to
Yes.
get results?
Yes. So meetings in the world before remote work, a lot of meetings require movement. So
Yeah.
especially for people who are doing a lot of client engagements. If you're doing a lot of client engagements, then you need to move from place to place. If you consider traffic, there's just a limit to how many engagements you can have.
Yeah.
But by transitioning to Zoom or Teams, right?
Yeah.
You can see that meetings, you can have back-to-back meetings.
Yes.
Yes, because one meeting ends by 12 noon, and another meeting can start by 12:05.
Yes.
But if it was a physical meeting ends by 12 noon, that meeting can start before 1 or 2.
Because people have to leave.
Because they have to leave, get there, and all of that. So that's another, that's another sign of improved productivity. Yeah. So that's.
So, from your own point of view, you would say remote was COVID was the best thing that happened to your team.
From the impact on the transition, maybe. But no, COVID was not. Yeah, it was a tough time. People were isolated for a while. It was a challenge. Some people got really ill. There was some psychological trauma. Yeah,
Do we call things trauma in this part of the world?
We're always in trauma. In trauma state. Yeah, but in terms of the transition or the way the operations have transformed.
Yeah.
We believe that yes, that need to transform that way has been something positive that we benefited from.
Okay.
It has also helped us attract talent whom we may not have had access to. So
Okay.
Say people who don't live in Lagos at all.
Okay.
In the old
Good.
world, there's no way they would have been able to work with us. Or today we have a few members of the team who even live outside the country.
How are you able to manage them? Mine is, how do you do a 400? I'm looking at your numbers. How do you do a 400, get an ROI, and maintain team momentum in an environment we all have a perspective that does not work?
Yeah, because it's structured. What we've done, I mean, I don't have to oversee all of the entire team of 400 or so. We don't, like, first of all, there are two companies.
Perfect.
Those two companies have two leadership teams. My co-founder, my brother Emeka, runs one of the companies. I run the other one. We also have our co-founder Wale, who works with me.
Okay.
On the second company. But there's a layer of leadership even working with us. So there's like call it a C-level or VP layer.
Perfect.
Who head what we call like departments, right?
Okay.
So department heads are VPs, vice presidents, or C-suite officers.
Okay.
And that could be like HR or finance or marketing or sales, product management, and so on, engineering. Now, within these departments, you have functions, which are like subs, right? Okay. So, for example, within engineering, you might have an engineering manager heading one product, another engineering manager for product two, and so on. Within sales, you might have a sales manager for one segment, and so on. So those you now have managers leading specific functions or teams within the department.
Okay.
So when you cascade it that way, and then there's a lot of strong leadership development that we kind of engage in to make sure that leaders at different levels can engage their teams effectively, get the best out of it, motivate them, retain them, maximize their performance, build their capabilities. So that by structuring it this way, you find that a team might have 3 or 4 people, right? Overseen by manager. Okay. You might have 3 or 4 managers overseen by department head, like a VP. Okay. And then the VPs report into we as founders. Okay. So that structure keeps the accountability, keeps the kind of the culture, keeps the performance going, without we now as the founders having to oversee. There are people I don't even ever see. Actually, most of the people I don't ever see.
You have a strong team.
Leadership team, yes. Yes, my interactions with the leaders. But it can be scary sometimes, I must admit. You walk into the office, and because we used to come to the office, we come to the office and the office is, as usual, empty. They're like, are people working? Is there...
That's a Nigerian
thing? Are people working? Like, is work going on? But customers are not complaining. Revenue is still coming in. Okay. So work must be going on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. So do you feel so asking you the obvious question, remote or hybrid, is very obvious because remote has worked for you. So you would rather, so obviously remote, hybrids, or back to how we were coming to the office?
I think it's a case by case. It depends on the kind of area you're in. In our own area, because it's mostly knowledge work. Okay. So knowledge work, I think benefits strongly from remote because where you are doesn't really, the output is not affected by where you are. Okay. And the tools for you to your productive output can be transmitted electronically. So if I have to draft a design for something, it's maybe 10 pages. I prepare it, I send. Okay. If I'm supposed to build functionality as an engineer, software functionality, that thing is the source code. It's code. It's like text. It looks like a book too, but a book that is not in English, in computer language, right? It's something that can also be sent. So knowledge work benefits, I think. So speaking from our own industry area, which is knowledge work based, I would say that yes, remote is better. The downside though is the connection, the human connection. So I think the way we've tried to manage that is use certain types of meetings, right? Where we could mandate people to come in for once in a while for a meeting, right?
Yeah,
And that's
have that human connection.
we provide that human connection and bonding and so on, as well as some event like social events.
Okay.
Yes, the team bonding type events that are
Okay.
exciting for people to participate.
Okay.
Yes, so you combine that with the efficiency of not having to commute. We think it has played well for now for us.
For now.
And again, because from a high point of view,
Yeah.
talent, the top talent generally
Yeah.
favoring remote work, obviously, because it's more convenient. So if you in a space where talent acquisition is tough and competitive,
Yeah.
if you insist on physical work, you may not get
The right people.
some people. Yes, and for sure you won't be able to hire people who don't live. Yes, your sphere
It's
of hire will be limited. Yeah.
So there's this question I ask CEOs. At the end of the day, when you want to get a successor, one of the challenges is that you look for, in coach, someone that is like a clone.
Okay.
Someone that has job shadowed you. Now, in a world where we finally would have more remote team members that will be giving you excellent results, how would you manage in the future if you want somebody that will be like, that will represent you,
Yeah.
and you've never seen him,
That's before.
and he has never walked around you, and you have to, how confident would you feel giving everything you've built to someone that is just your remote A-star compared to someone that works with you, is job shadowing you, you're confident that this guy knows how I think, how I feel. How would you handle it?
Good question. First of all, I have two answers to that. First of all, even in the remote scenario, there's a lot of interaction.
Okay.
Already, right? So whether it's calls or video calls or voice calls or emails or like there's a lot of interaction. So that's normal. But more importantly, I think at the leadership level, there's a lot more physical engagement. Yes.
Okay.
Like my own direct reports, that's the leadership team that report directly to me.
Yeah.
We meet physically, like once a week at least.
Interesting. Interesting.
So the way to think about it is, if you look at it, if you come to your company, the higher one is in leadership cadre, more likely you're going to see them in the office. Like me personally, I'm in the office every day.
Nobody needs to tell you that.
I'm in the office every day, right? Because I'm from the old school of time where, I mean, when work goes on, this is for work, this is for home, right? Yeah. So I still have that thing on separating concerns. Also, I try not to make a habit of working at home so that when I'm home, I'm home. Otherwise, I'll be 100% working, and I'm not available. So that's one. But then as you come, the next cadre, they are usually in the office more frequently than the more junior cadre.
Okay.
Yes. So my own interaction, either during our check-ins weekly or even outside of our check-in weekly, if they happen to be in the office for something, so that interaction is more. Okay. Now, when I said there are people I don't even see, these are like if you go more junior. Yeah. Yes, those ones, because they don't really have much of a need. So the more junior, the less of a need to be in the office. The more senior, it may also be meetings. So there are certain meetings, for example, there are client meetings that would be physical, that would require some of those senior leaders to come in, and then we will interact, or during our check-ins, or they came in for to meet their own team for something. Okay. Yes. So it will never be. I doubt if it's going to be a scenario where we've not met like that. No, not for my and I believe that successor would always be somebody who is a direct report. Yeah, the odds that your success is not reporting directly to you is
very rare. So that gets back to feedback to the newer employees that the better way to get the ear, eyes, and attention of your CEO is not to continue working from home. is to
to come
find
to
your
the office
way
once in a while at
to
least.
his face and get results. Because if we choose the easier way of working from home, it's fine. Nobody will stop you. But the more you grow, the more people want to experience your body interactions and how you respond to someone said leadership is not taught, it's
Yes.
caught. So it's obvious that the older school would always tilt towards those they feel are self motivated,
Yes.
that would not need anybody to tell them come to work.
Yes.
So the ones that finally say, "Don't worry, I'm working from home," have shut themselves up. Is that what we're saying?
Well, clearly the engagement helps to assess people's leadership qualities and even personality.
Okay.
So clearly that helps. You know, it also helps sort of build that relationship. The thing that's also critical though is also just your output.
Okay.
And now we can see it during the
Report.
evaluation. Yes, during the performance evaluations.
Okay.
We can see, but we also use a kind of feedback mechanism, because what we have is we see it on the evaluation, but we corroborate it through people's supervisors or managers or their peers.
Okay.
Yes. Your peers or your managers would always give like a review, yes. And so you have these people that are exceptional.
Yeah.
And not just are you seeing it in their performance scorecards, but you're also getting feedback that, man, this person is exceptional. And sometimes it's direct, because even for me as CEO, there are projects where I'm directly involved because it's like super critical.
Yeah.
If you have people, those high performers in there, and they are part of that project, that sometimes there are special projects that even as CEO I'm directly involved in because they are really strategic.
Okay.
In those cases, a high performer may not just be. I might have the opportunity to experience that high performance directly, not just as feedback or something I saw as from the scorecard, but just seeing the output of that person on that project.
Okay.
Yes, to see that this person has overachieved in terms of the expectations they had on that project. Yeah. So those ones, the results for us is a big ability to deliver results.
Okay.
Is a big component of our decision to entrust people with more leadership responsibility. Yes.
Okay. So what do you think drives Obi? What's your biggest driving force? I'm asking this question for one reason. Now, the fact remains that for every entrepreneur that has gotten to this level,
Yes.
Continuous learning is self-motivated.
Yes.
Everything you do, you don't finally build what you have built by try and error. There is something behind the scene that either drives you or propels you. What keeps you going? What's your continuous learning model that keeps you on top of your game? And how do you hire the best talent to continuously take your business and product to make it competitive in the new world?
Okay,
Yeah.
good question. So I think a lot of things drive me, but I think the biggest one would be the opportunity that we have as Africans to demonstrate our ability to contribute towards societal development on a global level, on par with other individuals from other parts of the world.
Okay.
Basically, the ability for us to be world class, even though we are from Africa.
Okay.
Yes, to demonstrate that we can operate at that level of world class, or even beyond what people consider world class, in spite of the fact that we're from Africa, and be able to sort of change that narrative, prove that we have talent as well. Talent is evenly spread, and we can do some of the things that people consider are impossible. And in so doing, also transform the continent to become world class. Yes, I think that's the biggest thing that drives me. Picturing the African continent and the people at a level of functioning that is um, just as good or even better than the best anywhere in the world. So that's a big thing for me in terms of continuous development and you know building myself up. Yes, that's also critical. So I try to read as much as I can and watch videos that are insightful and enlightening in our area
Okay.
that expose me to opportunities, what's going on, things I need to know that would help me become a better leader, things I need to know that would help me um, to deliver a better product
Okay.
to customers. The evolving trends, evolving technologies that will open up opportunities to deliver more value. So I think I'm quite keen on that. Um, then in terms of hiring, like you mentioned, I think hiring is like one of our very key strengths and strategic area for us.
How do you do it?
So we have a system, right? But this system starts with the aspiration to hire the very best, top talent, right? And the reason is because
Sorry for cutting you short. I have a challenge. There's a record that says most tech people get the jobs done, but they have challenges with attitude in the workplace.
okay,
Most
okay.
good tech talents that you will get the results, but the challenge has always been how to manage their
Manage them.
attitude and soft skills. How have you handled it?
Okay, first of all, I think it might not be just tech. Creatives generally can be eccentric, like
Very
they can be
obvious. Yeah.
eccentric. I think that eccentricity comes with why they are
Talents.
creative. It comes with talent.
Okay. Okay, that's been fair.
It comes with talent. So you can't take one and leave the other. So it's
Okay.
normal.
Okay.
With creative, you talk to people, if you talk to people in market, it's not even tech. If you talk to advertising guys, they tell you the same thing.
Okay.
Right? These guys, they're just essentially want to do things differently but they are still productive. So I think even with that said, there may be people who have extreme behavioral challenges
Okay.
that might even limit their output somehow, or may not limit but become toxic to the environment, and you want to try to avoid um, those people, but still having an open mind for that eccentricity, where it's healthy because it's part of what create makes them creative, right? So we've tried to create a strong culture based on our core values. There are four main core values we have: proficiency, courage, innovation, and humility.
Okay.
And the way we say it is, courage is you can act in spite even when there are challenges, right? In spite of challenge, in spite of uncertainty, being able to still act. Proficiency is being very good at what you do. Innovation is being able to think out of the box, create new solutions from almost from nothing. But we are saying that these three traits as core values, when people have them, because they are very favorable, because they are very desirable, there's a tendency to be a little arrogant about them. There's a tendency to feel superior, better than everybody else. But the fourth one is to tamper that, tone that down, which is humility.
Okay.
It means in spite of being very good, very bold, very creative, you're still down to earth, unassuming, and they have the sort of fundamental belief that everybody's equal. People just play different roles, that everybody's equal. People are special, but equal. And so we try to build our culture around that and hire people who share those core traits.
Okay.
Sort of there's a culture fit step in the recruitment process that checks for these things beyond the technical capability or the aptitude. So there's a phase that checks for aptitude, which is your raw potential, right? That's where you have some aptitude tests and stuff like that. There's some psychometric things in there. Then you have the technical assessment, which is where we're trying to understand your skill set and whether it's a fit or whether you have the level of skills that we need. And then there's the culture fit. Culture fit is now to assess this kind of behavioral personality side of stuff, and see that it aligns to our culture. And if we detect that somebody has some kind of extreme behavioral, toxic behavioral side, then we want to avoid person, no matter how good they are, because the impact on the culture. Yes, so that summarizes. Yeah, but we always want to top talent, top 1%, the right behavior with the right like mindset and attitude.
So finally, what's your big advice to young people who would want to do what you're doing in this part of the world, and your own lessons to everyone around the world about the impact you're making in Nigeria, in Africa, with the impact? And someone said Obi can never leave Nigeria. The reason why Obi can never leave Nigeria is that Obi has built a platform and Nigeria gives him results. So um, it might be strong, but there's a reason behind it. What it means is that it has worked for you, and you figured out how it could help someone else. So, what's your own feedback to next generation and anybody that wants to thrive here? What's Obi doing very right we can learn from?
So I think the first thing is I believe there's opportunity, and I don't. It's not even a belief; it's obvious.
Yeah,
there's a lot to be built, and I'm not talking about just technology. If you look at the environment, infrastructure, everything, right? I just take your typical society in, say, Europe,
yeah,
right, or the US, or even the advanced parts of Asia, and look at the society here. You'd see that there's so many gaps, things that are not here that need to be built. Some that are being imported that need to be um, localized. So there's massive opportunity. That's number one. Number two is that so I think passion is important. Being passionate about the particular area where you want to add value is important, because obviously there are challenges, right? So yes, there are challenges, and those challenges can be sometimes a little demoralizing, or can even um, create cause delay in the pace of how things progress. Um, so you need passion, right? Meaning beyond the commercial reward, this is something you like. This is something that gives you joy. Yeah. So if that commercial reward is being delayed or seems to be threatened, you still have staying power, which is very important. The other thing is patience, knowing that like things take longer
to get
done. Yes, things need longer to get done, but they do get done.
Okay.
Yes, they do. That's the truth. So like sort of that longevity pays off, in my experience, and then the passion helps create focus. So focus is also key. Dissipating does not help. Focus allows you to build momentum in a particular direction. And the time it takes is because there are certain things, there's experience. You need to understand the area. For you to add value to somewhere, you need to understand it very well and become like an authority, become a specialist in that area, number one. You need to build credibility. That's people need to know that this person or people are good in this area, that they're good to be able to add value significantly in this area. The other thing that takes time is relationships.
Okay.
You need trusted bonds. People who have known you for a while and like, don't worry, I can vouch for this guy. Or, hey, this is a friend of mine. I can help him sort this or that out. These things I just mentioned, they take time and sometimes even longer in this part of the world. Yeah. But then there's passion and there's focus, and considering all the opportunities there to build value, then yes, you would survive, you would thrive. And there are many people, not just me. There are others. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you look at it, there are other people. And many I know when they were not at that level. I have friends, I have people who, and good, legit, hardworking, value creating effort and paying off ultimately. Yes. So that would be my advice.
Okay. Thank you, Obi, for your time. Thank you for what you do. It makes so much of sense when people recommend you for the work you do, and someone says, "Go and look at him. He's doing a good job." What it means is that your work speaks for you.
Thank you.
And normally, I used to have coconuts for my guests to break, but we're trying to be very we are considering your mental health. The trauma of breaking a coconut is. So we'll spare you and not give you coconuts to break. But we'll promise you, maybe we'll think around how we can break coconuts in 2020 new worlds
Yes.
without affecting mental health.
Sure, bring it.
Without affecting mental health. Thanks for your time. And
Thank you very
hope,
much.
hope to hear more of what you're doing in your brand.
Sure. Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.